Follow the trend, tend to benefit while avoiding harm. Hello everyone, this is Mr. D. Today I want to share with you the other situation of the three transmissions, the remote restriction. As I said in previous video, we can regard the four lessons as four groups composed of the upper symbols and the lower symbols, and then observe these four groups. Which one has a restriction relationship to determine the first transmission? If none of the four groups have a restriction relationship, how can we determine the three transmissions? In this case, we observe whether there is a restriction relationship between the upper symbols and the lower symbol of the first lesson. I have to emphasize again, the lower symbol of the first lesson represents the questioner and is the heavenly stem of the day's name. If there is only one restriction relationship in the four lessons, whether it is the upper symbol restricting the lower symbol of the first lesson, or the lower symbol of the first lesson restricting the upper symbol, we choose that upper symbol as the first transmission. If there are two or more restriction relationships in the four lessons, and only one combination is the upper symbol to restrict the lower symbol of the first lesson, we choose the upper symbol of the combination that have a relationship of upper symbol restricting lower symbol as the first transmission. If there are two or more restriction relationships in the four lessons, and all combinations are the upper symbols restrict the lower symbol of the first lesson, or all the lower symbol of the first lesson restrict the upper symbols, we need to observe which upper symbol of these combinations has the same yin or yang attribute as the lower symbol of the first lesson. Then, we choose the symbol that has the similar yin or yang attribute to the lower symbol of the first lesson as the first transmission. This is the time when the question was raised. This is the question we want to ask. This is the heaven plate and the earth plate. These are the four lessons. We first regard the four lessons as four groups, and then observe whether there is a restriction relationship between the upper symbols and the lower symbols of each lesson. The five elements of the two symbols in the first lesson are earth and metal, and there is no restriction relationship. The five elements of the two symbols in the second lesson are fire and earth, and there is no restriction relationship. The five elements of the two symbols in the third lesson are both fire, and there is no restriction relationship. The five elements of the two symbols in the fourth lesson are earth and fire, and there is no restriction relationship. None of these four combinations have a restriction relationship. So we need to observe which of the four upper symbols have a restriction relationship with the lower symbol of the first lesson. Because fire restricts gold, F restricts W and G restricts W. Both F and G have a restriction relationship with the lower symbol of the first lesson. Which one should we choose as the first transmission? First, we need to determine the yin or yang attribute of W. It is yang. Then we need to determine the yin or yang attribute of F and G. F's attribute is yin, G's attribute is yang. G's yin or yang attribute and W's yin or yang attribute are both yang. So we take G as the first transmission to this course. The remote restriction represents powerless and unmotivated. When we get the four lessons and the three transmissions like this, it usually means that the event will develop very slowly and even without results in the end. It happened suddenly or far away from us. Subscribe. Be your own prophet.